Uh, Thank you. Calling the meeting to order. This is the Waldo County Commissioners Special Court Session. Agenda February 17, 2026 at 9 a.m. Let's do roll call. Commissioner Parker here. Our new commissioner. Deanna.
Here.
And County Commissioner here. Okay, let's go start going through the any edits to the agenda?
I have none.
Hearing none.
Nope.
Let's move forward. Okay, let's start with the questions. Where do you want to start?
I was given an updated budget on Friday, but it did not include the jail, and the jail is the thing that has changed the most. So I could really use an updated.
Harry, if you're listening online.
At least I don't think it did.
They were at that very end.
It's at the very end.
Yeah.
One.
Thank you.
Thank you. You might as well sit at the table. Yeah. You might as well bring HR in too.
Okay.
So this is 2010-2026 version 3. Noted as 2010-26 version. And it is the updated budget. It is $14,513,945.14, which is a 13.58% increase. We originally started with a increase of 37%. It's dropped to 17.36%. Then it dropped to 13.99%. Now we're at 13.58% increase. So, Brianna, you're new, so I'm going to give you some latitude here. You want to go right to the jail, or you want?
Yeah, I want to understand how so much money was cut from the jail budget. And if that's sustainable, are we just going to have $1 million increase next year?
Let's go.
I think that's a fair question.
I mean, I love seeing money cut. I just, I don't want to do this year after year after year if it's not realistic.
Okay, so there's two versions of the jail budget. One is integrated and non-integrated. You want to walk us through that, Carrie, just so that everyone is clear as to what it is?
So your non-integrated budget are the lines, the 33 lines that we removed and put in different county cost centers. The budget committee had asked us, hey, what does this budget look like with those cost centers back in? So your integrated budget that you see is with those lines put in there. And that way they can compare last year's jail budget to this year's jail budget. We will still be moving forward with the non-integrated. And leaving those cost centers on the county lines that we had moved.
Okay. What is the status of, I would love to be caught up to speed a little bit on the opioid task force and what they've been doing so far. I think it's fairly new that was started.
Sure.
And I know there was a question of whether or not the committee would want to or would recommend using money from that fund for offsetting medically assisted treatment in the jail budget. And so I just kind of want to know what's going on with that group of people. How do they interface with the commissioners? Do they support this?
So we set up an ad hoc committee, and they were supposed to create a standing committee for the actual committee on how we were to use these funds, because we're going to gain funds for over the next 10 years. So they're supposed to provide us recommendations. They're community members that are in the community that are actually dealing with the issues. We have actually requested some of the money to go to offset some of it, but I and your former position district, we both made a comment, and I think that, I just want to bring it to light again. All of that money, in my opinion, should not be used to just offset a budget. It's there to reduce risk in the community. And I hear some of the people that made concerns back at the first budget committee, but there is another broad part of it where we're supposed to be reducing risk in the community itself. And yes, the people in the jail are part of our community, but there's also the families that are outside of the jail. So there's a part of that we were going to take from to help offset the shots that are in there. But in my opinion, I still feel like that there should be a money that's not touched and actually be used the way it's supposed to in that committee with their recommendations.
So, I mean, I certainly, myself, I think there's a good argument for using money from that fund.
Sure.
Some of it
Yeah.
for this. However,
Mm.
you know, given the past history with that funding and the fact that like, oh, great, we're doing the right thing. We have this task force that has expertise in this area and they're going to provide recommendations. I wouldn't want our first move to be to include money in the budget
Well, we also
that they haven't given the thumbs up to.
We also went as far as to bring in the Moss Group, and they're giving us a full-blown guidance on how to financially use this money and do it responsibly so that there's no cliffs or anything on
Mhm.
our end, so that we're doing things by the book. So.
Like if I knew that 100,000 that's in here,
Mhm.
you know, as an example, that could be for a few years and that the committee would support that would make some sense. And what do you think, Kevin?
Well, I've said this before, having dealt with math programs for 15 years, over a decade and a half, was inclusive. It had not only primary care, but it had social work, mental health counselors, caseworkers in there, nurses in there, buprenorphine, Suboxone. Having done it for 15 years, it was prudent to set up a committee that was incorporated from the community, that had experts that were on the front lines, actually front lines doing this work. 1.6 million from 2022 to 2038 is not enough money to move the needle on it. Having said that, and the optics of it and the transparency of it, that we set up an ad hoc committee to choose the participants for the standing committee, and these are constituents within the community. They're actively dealing with prevention, education, and treatment of these type of individuals that have this disease. That it be prudent that they have a say in this matter. Their goal is to bring forth, in conjunction with the Moss, is to bring forth a program business plan or plans, and a budget and data analysis to be included in that budget, so that we know where that money is being spent, to see that it's being well spent, and I've already approached Lieutenant Magnuson that that we do need some money, $100,000 from that 600. How much do we have in there right now? So off the top, 600.
500,000. We received 620,000. Some was used, and so I believe we're down to about $500,000 in that 500,000 in that count. Yeah.
Okay. So but expense follows revenue and revenue follows expense. So there's a reason that we have a separate warrant every 2 weeks, even if it's a zero warrant, so that people understand where this money goes, because this is 2026, so it's another 12 years. So if somebody's looking back, they'll understand where this money has been spent, exactly to the penny. That's the goal for that. So I know the last report that Lieutenant Magnuson gave the commissioners, that there's still absent one key component of that, and it's a licensed medical practitioner. Providers are an insurance term, practitioners are a medical term. There's a difference. So I told him to look for an advisory, or we could increase the committee to as a voting member, but at least get an advisory person on there that has experience, whether it be an MD, DO, NP, or PA that has experience with opioid addiction and prescribing medications for that treatment of that disease.
So this is still at the committee.
Now it's the standing committee.
Recommending.
The standing committee is now stood up.
Yep.
The ad hoc committee has been dissolved.
Okay.
So now we have approved all 9 members. We have 9 on there right now. So 9 members by the commission have been approved to be on that committee. The authority to spend this money resides with the commission.
Sure.
Period. And going forward, we want to make sure that we spend it well. But I think and not only, I think Commissioner Parker said it well, it says besides what we have in the, our holding, pattern, holding recovery center over there, or, in the jail system, that part of this money should be used for this. And here's the reason why, is recidivism. Somebody on buprenorphine or that type of medication, that steps off the plate, is released from incarceration, that they need some parachute.
Mhm.
And to make sure that at least there's a temporary solution, and before they get back into some type of system, once they're out of their period of incarceration. So that's where we stand on that one there. Do I have an intent to go after more than $100,000? Because the question was asked for me. No, I've never said that. I said, but I think it's prudent that we take some of the money and apply it towards actually that disease.
And just to clarify too, because I really appreciate Kevin bringing it up. We made it a point to have a separate warrant for it, not because things were being done. They were being done differently before us. And we have a responsibility to do things to the best of our ability. So we wanted to make sure that there was we're here, corrective action. There's stuff on record. So.
Okay,
Does that answer your question?
it does, yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate
So
that.
let's go back to the jail budget then. I'm looking at two copies here, one integrated and non-integrated. And Carrie has spoken to the issue of what integrated means. It's the 33 general ledger lines that we moved, trying to get our accounting system right, and that the proper expenses are allocated under the correct cost centers. I think there's 22 cost centers, 358 lines, 12 departments. And so the budget committee tasked us to put those numbers back in. And then the other thing on the, if you're looking at the which one are you looking at? Not integrated, not integrated?
Looking at non-integrated.
Okay, so on the integrated budget, where the GL lines are back in, one of the things that was accounted for prior to was that, and the sheriff brought this up last year at the budget meeting before the approval, and I think prior years, because I was there in the audience that year, is that 50% of our medical costs are in that they were in the jail budget for 25. 50%. There's only 17 people in that department, and it has to be. To me, that's not accurately reflecting the costs that are associated with that department. But we put those costs back in on the integrated budget, so the budget committee could see. And the other request from the budget committee was to see what was expended last year, 2024, and also expended in 2025. So in the non-integrated, well, you can see in the integrated, non-integrated budget, the actual average percent increase or decrease for 24-25 revised budget for 26, then the average for 24-26. So that shows you the percentages there, what's going on historically.
Now keep in mind, Kevin talks fast, so you can always say, Kevin, slow it down.
Slow it
I know,
down. That's okay. I have no
I
problem.
think, and I think.
Just tell me to pump the brakes.
I'm good, I can go fast, I have to
Well-
go to work someday.
Well, I think the other thing I'll do is, that, because I know I've been told this from a couple of department heads, which is fine. We're doing a lot really fast, and maybe we are taking a very big bite at it. But there was a lot of stuff that we really wanted to try to correct and make easier moving forward. At least for our next 3 years, and then whatever happens after. And one of the big ones was, when we're sitting on budget committee last year and the year before is, you're going through this stuff and it's not matching up. And then we're being told in budget committee that we have stuff in people's lines, like the whole jail thing. At some point, the jail is its own separate entity. It's not going to be, it's going to be pulled into the county budget. IT was being ran out of reserves. Well, at some point, it needs to have its own department. There was a lot of stuff where we were pulling things out and putting them where they should have been to begin with. And it was a lot. There was a lot of stuff that we were doing really fast that I think maybe overwhelmed a lot of people. And that's why they keep using the word transparency. But there's really not a whole lot of questions that Kevin and I won't answer.
Oh,
So let me-
when I've used that word, it's not about that.
So let's go back to the jail budget. For 2025, the actual expense integrated was $4,599,000, $763.08.
Mhm.
The new revised budget for 26. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ferry, is 4,000,000. These numbers are small, so 4,207,137.10. So that's a reduction of negative 8.5%. I know the sheriff on this revision, version 3 went back and gave us some updated figures. I think it dropped at around $58,000 in change.
That was between the SO and the jail.
SO and the jail, okay. So if you look at those two numbers integrated with the 33, with the general ledger lines back in the jail budget, it's a negative 8.5%.
Mhm.
So does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, for you?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And then you can see the average for the last 3 years. Well, the last 2 years was $4,269,560.38. And then if you add in the revised version 3 is four, is that a 3?
4.2.
4248,
Yep.
752.62.
So on the very first page of the
Sure.
whole document is where I was hit with the holy cow, how are we managing a budget by taking $1 million out of this one department?
if you want-
That's kind of where I wanted to
Money's
make a
not-
little more sense. It makes more sense. It makes sense to me when I look at the non-integrated. It makes sense to me when I look at the integrated, but that number right there, and maybe you can.
Oh, here's here. Do you want to talk about what you've removed and why?
Like a shadow in the night.
I didn't bring those notes with me, so I'll be trying to go from.
I'm kind of looking for layman's, like, just your experience as like the department head of higher crack in this nut.
So we've taken a couple of shots at reducing the budget.
Mhm.
Probably the most significant reduction was not this go around, but the previous one. That was accomplished when Matt and I sat down with Kevin and Harry and we took a look at our budget. And basically, the savings was created by looking at unexpended funds from 2025. Reallocating some of that to cover debt or cover expenses for the upcoming year. Part of it was looking at reserve accounts and trying to figure out what we could take out of the reserve accounts to offset expense. And some of it was reductions. But the lion's share of it was unexpended funds and reserve accounts. Part of the hurdle that we've had is what you're referring to when you say, I don't want to create a cliff next year. Everything that we've looked at, we've tried to figure out, how do we do this without just having this conversation all over again in the fall, next year's budget. And so when we would look at, say, like a reserve.
It's like 6 months away when the budget
It
committee will be
is.
starting to calendar.
So when we would look at a reserve account, we would say, all right, how much money would we have in that to try to offset? And we wouldn't throw everything that we had at that. We would put a portion of it forward with a thought that if we needed to try to offset again next year, we might be able to go back and take a smaller amount out next year. Stagger those increases to try to create a gradual growth year to year instead of a cliff. So to ease some of your thoughts, some of what we looked at in those reserve accounts wasn't like, let's just throw every dollar we have at this. And then next year we'll figure it out. There was a little bit of strategy and like, how do we do this so that we can kind of gradually get into where we need to be over 2, 3 or 4 years.
So as an example, what is the purpose of the revitalization reserve that's being used for inmate boarding or offsetting inmate boarding?
So the history of that is that during the last year, the previous board was sitting. So would have been the other 3 commissioners. we were summoned to a meeting. And we were told that there was money sitting in the Community Corrections Reserve account. And that we needed to come up with a plan for how we were going to utilize that, because we did not need it all for the current year's operating of the county garden.
Mhm.
So at that time, we were in the process of trying to get this District 6 Corrections Collaborative to work. And we knew that we were gonna need funds for paying the consultants that we were hiring.
Yeah.
To evaluate the system and our buildings and a bunch of that stuff. And boarding rates are always in flux. So what we did was we took some of that money, community corrections funding, which has to be utilized very specifically for things designated in statute. And we applied those to those, like paying for Volunteers of America. We paid for Maine pretrial. We paid for things that was appropriate. And then took the funds at the end of the year that were left over, because we obviously had used corrections money. And we put that in that account designed specifically to help us in the future offset any spikes that we would have in increased boarding rates and to help pay for the consultants.
Okay.
So that's basically one of the funds that we went to, just try to stagger some of that cost. One of the other significant reductions that you'll see in how we got that budget down was using some of those unexpended funds from this last year to basically pay for the first quarter
Yeah,
of
I saw that.
our rate, which was
Yep.
325 and 350,000.
Yeah.
Recognizing that that's going to create a clip next year, but our directions were pretty clear from the budget committee that we needed to create savings, and that was one of
Yeah.
the ways that we did it. So that reserve account was created for those purposes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
And thank you to everybody for like allowing me airtime
No.
to get more caught up.
You're good. Are you all right if I ask him a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I'm gonna go on the record, even though I know I'm gonna piss a lot of people off. Especially in my district. I'm in favor of the 17%. If we were to do the reduce, will there be a cliff? Because I would much rather just have the conversation and rip the Band-Aid off. And it doesn't matter to me if we're doing it now or if we're doing it in 6 months. I just want to rip the Band-Aid off. Are we able to actually reduce it down to the 13 with no cliff? If we can do it with no cliff, I'll support it. But I'm okay with the 17 number.
Are you asking me?
Right? Yeah,
I
sorry.
give you my opinion, and if that's strictly all it is. You're going to have a cliff, a certain amount. I don't have the exact dollar amount, but you
Okay.
will have a cliff next year that we'll have to compensate for.
Okay.
By reducing it the way we did.
Right.
And my example of prepaying 3 months of boarding at 350,000 is a perfect example of this.
Yes,
That is gonna create a cliff. To me, and I've shared this with Commissioner Kelly in my conversation with him. The tone that I got from the budget committee at that last meeting, when they said, they wanted to see, several of the members said they wanted to see single digits. One of them said, well, they wanted to see 600,000 come up to get down to 12%. The others all said they wanted it to come down, but wouldn't name an amount. I think what you're gonna find is that if you don't come back there with a reasonable budget, the budget committee is going to throw a number up or a percentage, and they're gonna make you back into it.
Right.
So you might as well do the work now. Or you're gonna have some really undesirable work when the budget committee just says. The bottom line's reduced 800,000 and you have to figure out how to make that work. That's the fear that I have.
Yep.
That's why I would rather do the work now.
Yep.
and
Well, they
try to
can
come up
always
with
put
a
it back
reasonable-
in if they disagree. If they disagree also with it, the budget committee can put the, I mean, when I was on the committee there, they weren't, $1 million numbers, but there were some things that we saw that we said, that doesn't seem like we budgeted enough. We tried to get a lot of things down, but there were some things that were like, oh, that seems conservative. Maybe we should put a little more there. So, certainly if you went to the committee with this budget and really spelled it out that here's why, for example, that paying last year for the first quarter of this year is a really good example. Then they can have the choice to put that back in if they if they don't like the cliff. I think the important thing is to just have it be really clear what the changes are when we go back to them.
I just want to clarify too, that I do appreciate all the work that you are doing. And I do appreciate you doing the show work. And it's just, I just, if we're gonna rip the Band-Aid off anyways, I just feel like ripping it off. That's all. I don't know, but I agree. I appreciate what you're doing.
I'd like to make a comment, because the other thing too is, while we're using unexpended funds, we're also tapping into reserves into some of these to help offset budget costs. If you tap and you tap and you tap, then you end up.
And they're zero.
Lowers.
Yeah.
The other comment that I'd like to make that the budget committee has brought up is RIFs. While that sounds like a great idea, what has not been publicly said, that causes a huge problem for us. So the county of Waldo is 100% responsible for unemployment. So the state of Maine invoices us and we're responsible. So while we may be saving over here, we're going to spend over here in an account that's already in the negative $50,000.
We're also paying vacation time and things
You
like
are.
that to folks if they're laid off. So yeah, I don't see that as a way to just sort this.
No,
I don't think it actually saves money, and I think a year from now you have those departments going, geez, we really need that person.
And furthermore, unemployment, if we do end up having to pay unemployment, that will impact us for years down the road on our overall unemployment rate, which is based off of all
Prior history.
salaries.
That's right.
Correct.
Where's the other cliffs? Where do you see the other cliffs?
For me,
Oh.
so.
help.
Let's talk benefits.
Benefits, absolutely. We did go back and we revised our benefits budget again. We did end up saying that we were gonna defund and freeze a couple of positions, so we went back and recalculated that again without those positions. And so that did change all of our benefits numbers. We also went back to our broker again and tried to get, now that we have a couple months worth of data and they've been looking at it, try to get a more accurate reflection of our actual
So,
weekly
what's
claims.
the department number just for?
2025 employee benefits.
It's past the jail stuff.
Yep.
Thank you.
So went back to the benefits broker to discuss the weekly claims actual amount. And we did come back with another revised number. We've reduced it down again. The revised number that we have for the weekly claims actual for 2026 is now it's less than $20,000 more than what we spent in 2025. And the broker outright said to us, do not go below this amount because otherwise we will be at way too great of a risk.
So we're there on benefits.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Where's the other cliffs? So that's a cliff. Where's the other cliff? The jail's a cliff because we prepaid. What other cliffs do you see? Carrie or Tracy? How about technology?
Technology could, we prepaid for our software in 2025 budget, for our Edmunds accounting software. And we prepaid for our, Civic Plus, to help reduce the budget, but that's just gonna come back next year. In addition, IT, they have froze and unfunded their technician position. So again, that will remain a department.
That's why you bring that point up. Let's just go right to it. So you have in front of you the 4 positions that were either budgeted for 25 or budgeted for 26. It's deeds, comm center, finance, and IT. So in the case of deeds, that's a part-time position. In the case of comm center, that deeds position is a union position. It's frozen, but it's unfunded. Comm center, again, union position. It's going to be frozen but unfunded. Finance, which was the 26th request for a staff accountant, we eliminated that position based on the budget committee's request to RIFT. And IT position, that was because finance is basically a 1-person department. There are 4 departments here out of 12 that have 1 person in it. Finance, HR, IT, and also county clerk are all one, but we shifted a 24-hour, 32-hour position now to administrative position to finance, to be split between finance, between HR, and also county clerk. So that finance staff accounting position was eliminated and the IT position full-time was eliminated. We left $20,000 in there for any contract help that he would need if he needs to take a vacation within 365 days. All in, that was $347,000, 869.02 savings. So round it to 350. One position that's not listed in here, but it was probably for less than $5,000 was a part-time position in EMA that went from 27 to 24 hours. 9 hours out of the 24 are paid for by a grant. So the balance of 16 hours is paid that's in the budget there. So I don't think that's more than $5,000 savings. So if you round it to 350, that's 355 savings right there. Eliminated of frozen positions. Go ahead.
Facilities.
Oh, facilities.
That was
Thank
reduced,
you very
yeah.
much.
Yeah. Sorry.
Facilities, that was reduced from the third person in there was reduced from full-time to 20 hours, and that becomes effective what date?
March 8th,
March 8th. Thank you. So that saved how much?
approximately $15,000.
$15,000. So that's a rough number of 15K. So 15 plus 5 is 20. So that's 350. So that's another $370,000 savings there.
One thing that I didn't quite catch when we were talking, you were discussing IT. What happens if Jason goes on vacation or gets sick? And we need IT or have an IT emergency?
We got $20,000 in there for a
For
contract.
contract, okay, so that's all, that's in the budget.
That's it.
Instead of an extra person, we have
Correct.
some installation, okay.
So one other thing, the narrative on, I had the IT director update his narrative. Because when we originally started this, we were doing a 12-month plus 18-month, which we've taken off the table, the 18-month budget. But I had to go back through and verify. So we cross-tabbed the cost expenses that are in his budget against his actual spreadsheet budget, and they all tally up. But his narrative's been updated to remove anything in relation to 18-month, and it's reduced in pages too. I always look at page count.
Yeah, there was a lot of pages in that.
A lot of pages. So that's the IT budget. I can tell you on the IT side of it, that there was one person on the public hearing that made some comments. He reached out twice. Finally, the third time was the charm. And there was some suggestions about some software licensing savings. He is taking a look at those, but it's not going to hit this 26 budget because those licensors, you have to sign an agreement for ongoing licensing software support. So I suspect if there's going to be savings, it'll be in 27. And I did reach out to a third source I had. I won't disclose it, but they're looking at some software costs that could possibly help us in the future too.
So in being the new person here and coming here, I have some goals, I guess, and I think that they're shared among this group and one of the primary goals is getting caught up on audits, having the best accounting practices we can, having lots of support for having really good, reliable numbers coming out of the county. And I am wondering how we meet that goal when our finance department has asked for extra help and we've said no.
So
What are we doing instead?
I think that those are very admirable goals that we also shared about a year ago. And the steps we have taken to correct this action has been getting her the right software, especially when we've been addressed with issues like we can't pull up records. We can't even get data. So, I mean, we've had to go spend some money in order to make some money on this type of deal for that return on that investment. I think the best thing that we can do going into 26 for our finance department is to ensure that she has all of the proper software. We may not be able to give her the man hours yet. That might
How many
be,
hours are you getting out of the person that's kind of floating?
I don't think I really paid attention to her hours. I can at least say 20 hours.
Okay.
I'm gonna
This is-
safely say.
this is what she's not getting. Okay, she's not getting hit by us to say, hey, can you go recreate data anymore?
Okay.
And that was how many hours for those 2 months?
Enough.
Yeah, okay. So that was one corrective action when we switched from the old NDS to the new software. Now that was a potential cliff. but it is one of those things where you're gonna take the cliff no matter what. Because you don't have a choice. So software was a big thing. But at some point, we do need to go and fix and make the correction on getting her a full-time person, especially with the way that the auditors
Their
say
recommendations?
there was a recommendation that we have a second person because of our audits.
Yeah,
But before we can get the second person, we need to make sure she has the right accounting software.
so,
So
one suggestion it would be that if we have a person floating between three departments, I would love for them to have or even if it's a rough idea of like how much of their time over the course of a year is spent on each of those departments so that we can allocate for that. I've been asked to keep track of my time before for different things and it's a huge pain in the butt, but even if it's
I can ask her to do that. So her main roles are, she does my invoicing
Mhm.
for me and any other assigned tasks, but primarily invoicing, which roughly takes between 6 to 12 hours a week, depending on what we have for invoices.
Mhm.
Additionally, for payroll, she's doing all the payroll reports.
Mhm.
And there's about half a dozen, a little over half a
A
dozen.
little over that.
And typically those take her about a day and a half, so you're looking at another 6 to probably 10 hours to do that.
Mhm.
And then she's been helping the county clerk with minutes.
Yep.
And we're also still working on training her. She's spends a day in here on Thursdays when we have commissioner court sessions to come up to date with how to take minutes,
Okay.
procedures, policies, things like that.
Yep.
So there's a lot of bouncing back and there's a lot of oh, I need you to stop this to do this, but
Yeah.
we'll focus on when she starts a task to start trying to keep time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want her to spend her time keeping track of her time, but you know, if there's some, if there's
Yeah.
sense of,
Yeah.
it's this many days in this department roughly, and
Well,
it's this many in that.
And another reason why we made this direction, this pivot, was because about a year ago, we were kind of put into a situation where I mean, we joke a little bit about it being called a hostile situation, but we were in a situation where we couldn't run payroll.
Mhm.
And we couldn't run certain things. So cross training was huge for this person. We
Mhm.
wanted this person to be able to at least fill in a pothole for any of these other people.
Mhm.
And so, like, we like her to spend each of her time with each one of these people.
Mhm.
That's an excellent point.
And she is learning, that's right. She's also working on actually learning payroll right
Sure.
now. She's been taking
That's
the
great.
wheel. So on every other Monday, she's been
Right.
focusing on that.
So the goal on that is to have a three-person depth
Mhm.
on payroll, to
Mhm.
run payroll.
Mhm.
Obviously payroll is always gonna have its issues. There's always nuances based on all the different contracts, but we want a three-person depth on payroll. To go back to your point, the goals, the goal is to reconcile all the checking accounts, get them current. The goal is to reduce checking accounts down to about 8.
Mhm.
The goal is to make sure our reserve accounts, especially, here's the example I keep using. I think there's 4 facility reserve, 5, 4 or 5 facility reserve accounts. The letter's already gone out to the state auditor. The state auditor has agreed to it, that we can reduce our reserve accounts to where they need to be appropriately. They're very concerned about reserve accounts. That's where their focus is at. And so I've reached out to the state auditor. They're in agreement as to what our roadmap is for that. And clean up the language, because I think, in facilities specifically, I'll target that one. When it says other expenses, I get a little nervous. Is that other expenses, IT expenses, or is that, other expenses for the sheriff's office? Those are the things that, it needs to be a very targeted, reserve account setup. We're down to about $1.8 million in change roughly. We need to make sure that we are calculating and preserving those accounts and using them for specific issues that need to be addressed by those reserve accounts. Third thing, accounting system, go live December 1st. I think we've already talked to them about the 24 and 25. We want the data to come over from 24 and 25 and not the data from 23. I've made it public that in 23, there was too many hands in the accounting system because there's a number of finance directors and non-finance directors in that system. And so the 23 audits, to go to your point about the audits, the 21, 22s are posted. They're on the state auditor's website. 23 second week of March is what they promised us. That's been the tough year for them to get through. And so 24 and 25s, 24s are paid for. I think 24s will go a lot smoother. 25, we have not paid for any audits yet, so that's up for grabs here, in the near future. What other points did you make on that, Brandon? Did I cover all the points for you?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
what do you see as your challenges this year, given that, we started with this idea of a staff account, which was recommended by the auditor, and we're kind of piecing together support in different ways?
My goal for this year is to hopefully get everything from 23, 24, 25 behind me. Get the check reconciliations completed, and so that way we're current and up to date. And then successfully be able to take on this new software and learn that. I will tell you that with the software, we have monthly touch points. We talk about various things, what's coming up. I really like it. I'm starting to get nervous about the conversion piece and learning this. I have a goal moving forward on how that's going to look. And so I think in August, in our budget time, I'll be hunkering down with a whole bunch of other things. Because my primary focus needs to be on the software so that it is right. So that I understand it. So those are some of my goals moving forward.
Okay.
Other questions? You focused on J, you focused on goals. What else you got, Brianna? That's a lot.
How much time do you have?
One other comment here, because I just want to refer back to the budget committee meetings. We've met with them 11 times. They're all recorded. They're all posted. Is that, 8 out of the 11 have been workshops. And, if we go lower than what we're going now, what we're proposing, the 13.58% increase, here's what's going to happen. We're going to be shuffling money around from the reserve accounts, trying to cover expenses as they come in. The probate court has been sold. All the funds have been collected. That money has went towards expenses. We're going to be in the same boat, history repeating itself. And if we try to go any lower than that, let's say if we tried to go lower than 12%, that means we'd have to be down close to 14 million or just a shade below 13,000,009. We're in serious trouble. And we had the bond approved for 5.33% for how much?
5.5 million.
5.5 million. It's already for the 10. It's already approved. It's already processed. So we're sitting on that. We haven't hit the 80% yet of our 2025 budget. When do you project we might hit that? Any soft month?
I'm going to say if this doesn't get approved, we may have until August, September, maybe.
Okay, and before that happens, we have 3 grievances on the table, 3 out of the 4 grievances on the table from the unions. And we'll have to go to arbitration. We will exceed our professional services line dramatically. I'll tell you that for a fact. They don't want to do it, but they're going through the process now of putting the paper on the table, and I don't blame them. That's all contracted prices prior BCC before current commissioners. It happens to every county. The other point I want to make is, BCC before current commissioners, the commissioners did a great, they were very focused on long-term debt. Waldo County does not have any long-term debt. It's every 2 weeks. It's our accounts payables, the warrants that go through. We're not in the same situation as Penobscot that went through $4.1 million to support their housing rate for the jail system. And to pay off bonds that they have in process. So we have no long-term debt, which is a very good position to be in. And I think if we're not careful, we could become in a precarious situation going forward. So I think it's time for the budget committee to do a roll call vote. Welcome
Do
down.
we have a date yet for that? I received a doodle poll
Barbara,
with
do you have a date?
options.
I have not had an opportunity to.
Oh,
What's the
yesterday was a holiday, no.
What's the 3 soft dates that we're going out for?
the 23rd, 24th, and 25th.
Okay, so next week.
And I wanna throw this out there too. Sorry, because I know you're in the room. The questions were asked when the housing situation happened, which I'm gonna also throw huge credit towards the current board before you came on for us doing this deal with Somerset. Because we solidified and made a jump when we had to. We had no choice. So that was a clip. That was one of those clips you have to do. So I'm gonna give credit to the, mainly, I want to make sure the sheriff
Sheriff's
gets
office.
recognized, sheriff and the sheriff. Now, the other thing too, I want to throw out there is at that same time, I did ask how much it would cost, because I know people have asked me about it, how much it would cost for a new jail. And we're talking 17 million? Was that the number we were talking about? I don't remember.
Oh, no, you.
$800 a square foot.
Between 40 to 60 million to build it, and another probably just under 10 million a year to operate it.
Right, opposed to
Mhm.
the 1.8 for housing. Right, or
One
it's,
point eight, right?
right.
now without-
so we're talking peanuts to pizzas. You know, so I wanted to clarify that, you know, even some of our biggest expenses are not something like funding a jail.
Mhm.
And we could be in the situation that Knox is in right now.
So the cliffs, to go back,
Mhm.
health benefits on our stop loss insurance, that's a cliff.
Yes.
We've pre-funded the jail for 3 months housing. That's a cliff we're gonna have to deal with down the road. We've eliminated 4 positions, 1 part-time and reduced 1 part-time and reduced the facilities position.
Didn't eliminate
Basically
them,
half
just
time.
unfunded them. We didn't eliminate
Yeah.
them, we just unfunded them.
Correct. Any other cliffs?
You talked about IT. There was
IT.
some savings in IT that we aren't gonna be able to use
Aren't
next
gonna
time
use
around.
this year.
Yep.
It's contracted.
So when we meet with the budget committee, I would like us to work on some kind of, so that ahead of time they have all this context of like
Sure,
union arbitration and here's the trade-offs if we did RIFs and
I know
these are
the-
the cliffs that we're
I
looking
know
at.
IT has reached out already. Jason's very quick,
Mhm,
but he's waiting on, that takes time to get
mhm.
cost estimates and stuff like that. I don't know if we'll have it for those dates, but it's in motion.
Yeah, I know for me when I was a budget committee member, a week ago. It was challenging coming into meetings, we would have.
Time's over.
We would have these spreadsheets, but the context was always like, we spent a lot of the meetings asking questions and getting kind of up to speed on the context. And I think that could make for maybe a smoother meeting and some more meaningful work if we provided some of that ahead of time, which we can do in all of our massive free time because none of us are overworked or.
So one of the things I should point out to you, if you look at the revised budget in the comment section, there's comments in.
Yes, I appreciated seeing those on
So-
a lot of the line items, yeah.
I think we're already forgotten that we pulled back 1 payroll period from 26 to 25. And I think that's gone by the wayside, but that was another huge savings.
Well, that's my favorite because that doesn't create a cliff because how long is it till we get another 27 pay period here?
Is it whenever 11 years?
Supposed to be every 11 year.
I still will be alive for that.
Will
just
you
so
still
know.
be commissioner?
Yes.
So this revision does talk about a lot of those things that we've talked about.
Right.
from
Yep.
The first reduction to this, I've included that.
Yes.
I think there was a budget committee member that said, hey, I want to see what you're using reserves. So there's notes in here as well that talks about what those reserves are being.
That's
used.
another request we've gotten a bunch of times was to just like a list of bank accounts and what's in them.
She's been, well,
We
It's
handed
been
that
given.
list out twice.
yes.
Hasn't been given to me.
It should have been, there was a meeting prior to the public hearing that everybody was.
Not at. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't at the public hearing, so, but I don't know.
No,
Was it
prior
just
to-
printed or was it emailed?
Was prior
No,
to
it
the
was
public
printed. It was
Okay,
printed and it was given at a meeting,
okay.
prior to the public hearing.
But wasn't, Laura asking for that at the last?
She
Okay,
asked again.
okay. So that was why in my mind it was not provided because it was asked for.
It
so-
was.
It was asked for 3 times
Okay,
and it was provided.
okay. Sorry about that then.
And not, I'm gonna say it, even though I'm gonna catch a little bit of fire. There's nothing that we're talking about right now that wasn't already talked about at 17%. It's just more of a warning light now of, hey, we're getting into deeper risk.
And I'll say my spiel, probably I've said a dozen times, if not more. The reserves are controlled by the commissioners. There's statute that says that. Yes.
I love statute. I also want to do the right thing and not just be like, oh, the statute said,
So if you look at,
buy-in from the committee and from the 26 towns in Waldo County is important.
so if you look at account 1090 audit, I'm hearing we've gone back and forth on audit. Originally it was $20,000. The commissioners increased it to 25, the budget committee increased to 30. The last budget meeting, they dropped it back to 20. So it's back to 20, but I am hearing that RHR, if I got the acronym right, I always reverse all those letters, that I'm hearing on the street is a 30% increase. So I think that's $6,000 short, just for the record. So
So shall we put that back in now?
I would.
Yeah.
You know what, because if we're gonna go to the same vendor, and we're not in the queue. We in order to be in the queue with that auditing firm, they wanted a 50% down payment, which I think I struggle with on that one. But we held off that, and but he has told us we can still be placed in the queue if we go back to him. So $6,000 is I would bump it up to 6.
So to
I think-
26K total.
Yeah.
Great.
And that's just gonna put your increase, that percentage increase a little bit.
Yep.
I would keep in mind too, that we didn't commit to our current auditor because he wanted a certain amount of money down. And us coming in at the final hour may cause us to have to pay more anyways. I know that he said that, he would always be willing to talk with us, but I know that if it was me and I was running my business like I have since I was 15 years old, loyalty is everything. And customers that stay loyal, you stay loyal to. And if we were to just say, hey, halfway through the year, will you do an audit for us? The price is going to not be the same as if we had committed in the beginning.
Other things we should make note of on this budget is 1080 special appropriations, zeroed out.
Yep, no, it's not.
It's not?
Oh, wait, sorry, special appropriations is, yes, I
Okay.
was putting water and soil in that.
Yeah, 2035 soil and water, we left it at 25. Simply because they've got a number of things in the hopper for the county that it's critical.
They represent a lot of value for what we
Yes.
pay in.
I think that's it. Other questions, Randy and Lou, so I'm gonna give you a lot more latitude.
No, I think that's enough for this topic.
No,
So this is a workshop, so Thursday is our commissioners meeting. I'm losing dates here. What's the date?
19th.
19th. I should know that date. I got other reasons. So the 19th, I'll call a roll call vote on each department on the 19th. Make sure the county clerk has it as a line item agenda, and I'll call roll call on each department. Any other questions on the budget?
Can I bring something up
Sure.
for you for the 19th to start stewing on? I am still getting IT invoices. I currently have one sitting in my email for $157,000. That is for Motorola's Spillman program, and I'm sure some other things in there too. IT still does not have a budget, nor do we have any reserves for him. So your suggestion on how to pay that would be helpful.
How much is it? 137?
157
157?
on top of the $7,000 that I presented on the 5th. So you're at $164,000.
So we have to think on that one. Come up with What's the due date and is there a penalty clause?
So I think 2,800 of that is credit card and that's due on the 22nd of this month. Penalty on Motorola, I believe is 1% or 1.5%.
That's another bit of context that we need to share with the budget committee.
So can you prepare a list for the Thursday and for the budget committee? That invoices that we're sitting on that have penalty clauses, interest clauses and that type of stuff, so that they're aware that the longer this goes on, it's costing the county more money. And also, I don't even want to consider the 3 grievances because who knows where that number could land. If we go to arbitration. Anything else from HR? Anything else from finance? Call for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, please, second.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much.